Hello, this is Darren Pulsipher, Chief Solution Architect of Public Sector at Intel, and welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. On today's episode, we're going to talk about embracing the workplace evolution, a strategic approach. Today, we have Robert Looney, America's Data Center Sales Manager, with us today to talk about workplace evolution.
Hey, thanks, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Robert, you and I have been working on this concept, right? I mean, since COVID hit, we kind of rolled up our sleeves and said, hey, we've got to help our customers in this time of transition, a massive transition.
Yeah, it's been a great time to really think about how we can help customers, help partners, grapple with what their challenges, their everyday problems are, but also really reinforce the importance of what we can offer them and how we can leverage technologies to address a lot of the challenges that are going on.
Well, it's been really interesting because just the last month, we kind of took a deep breath, you and I, and we said, all right, the chaos is over.
Yeah.
What can we do now, right? Because our customers, our end users, are through the chaos of the transition. How do we help them with what's coming next?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think about how we used to say so much of IT investment was just meant to keep the lights running. Boy,
Not
that
anymore.
seems like the good old days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We literally, to keep ourselves afloat, needed to be making really conscientious choices around how to keep the business afloat, keep our workers afloat. So we've lived through an old pre-COVID normal. We've dealt with a during the middle of COVID normal that we're all experiencing today, and lots of good choices and investments for today. But the question is, things are going to persist in the future. What did we learn from it? What are we doing better? What are we doing more nimble? What are we doing more conscientiously to really be able to invest in where we want to be in our future normal?
So what do you think that future normal looks like, that next normal as we talk about?
There are many things about today, the current today, that really we will hold over, right? We will really want to leverage enabling our workforce to be more remote, but to be more collaborative. We'll want to be able to reach new customers. We'll want to be able to express more of our technical resources out of our own four walls, right? Leverage our partners, leverage connectivity solutions, lots of things. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the number one thing I think we learned from this whole thing is the organizations that were already really agile did really well. They were able to turn on a dime and get their remote workforce going. Those that weren't had a really hard time.
Yeah. And I think those that were thinking that they wanted to be more agile, they wanted to be more digital, found the excuse and the reason to do it now. Right?
Absolutely. So the next new normal, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it is going to use some of the same aspects that we saw kind of accelerated over the last 8 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's an interesting thing is that, we really need to take a look at why we're doing it, right? We always look at, hey, what's our IT investment strategy? What's our IT capability strategy? What are we good at? Right? Because that's kind of what's in the wheelhouse of our customers, right? But what are their stakeholders, customers, partners, suppliers, vendors, all of that? What do they value out of what IT could help them with? I think we always do that. The way we've always engaged from an Intel perspective is, listen, we're not IT and we're not the final vendor solution, and we're not your constituents, your workers, your suppliers. But we have a really big ecosystem by which we understand their capabilities and we try to enable them, where we try to fill that gap right in the middle, right? Performance, scalability, efficiency, price, different models you could deploy through our ecosystem.
Well, and that's kind of the interesting point. Your stakeholders, which are your customers and your own workers, their values changed dramatically over the last 8 months.
Absolutely.
And a lot of IT organizations were kind of standing flat-footed going, I can't provide those capabilities that they're asking for anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're moving so fast and I just don't know how to do it. That's where Intel can come in and help, right? Because we understand how to do this actually really well. We've talked to thousands of customers. We've done it internally ourselves. So that's really how we can help bridge that gap because of that ecosystem that we have.
Absolutely. And, some of the things, hey, we do work on, optimizations, reference architectures, kind of full solution stacks. And we'll get into some of those areas here as we discuss this, but, you can lean on what we've learned from working with that ecosystem, working with the partners of kind of what to do when and how to approach it. We can share with you a lot of those learnings.
All right. Now, some of the things that we learned where the business requirements changed.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, when I was a CIO, I worried about three things. That's it. Three things. Well, a fourth, keep the board of directors happy,
Sure.
right? Right. Because it was a privately held company and the board of directors were my boss. So I had to keep them happy. Yeah. And then security, resiliency, and efficiency. Those were my three things. That's all I worried about. That's not the case now.
Yeah, and I think those again go back to, hey, I'm keeping the lights on efficiently. I'm staying out of trouble, right? Whether it's the board or whether it's an auditor or compliance or whatever. But I'm kind of practicing almost a defense service at that point. Versus what we really need to start taking a look at is how do I actually enhance the worker, the workplace, the transformations that they're undergoing in terms of doing their job, meeting their customers, meeting their supplier commitment, or working with their suppliers. If you are the supplier, meeting your commitments. How do you allow teams to really work effectively, right? Those are areas that IT can really add benefit and value to if you pick up that kind of that requirement. It's your requirement to help them deliver on that. The other is there's not like one size fits all. You have to have an agile-minded approach where it says, based off of circumstances, I can go multiple directions here, but still meet the needs of, the workplace and the work that has to be done. And finally, there's this area of how do I start to add more automation in? Artificial intelligence, we think of it as, it's the science fiction artificial intelligence. It's not. It's how do I thoughtfully allow technical automation to take hold in a lot of the processes and work that has to be done?
So that artificial intelligence ends up being almost like an enabler for these new areas that are driving, like
Sure.
Collaboration and worker experience enhancement.
Oh, absolutely. I've been really astounded by. I've been in meetings with some external entities in which there's a virtual note taker that's present, and we're wondering who's this person. I said, "Don't worry about it. They're taking notes."
They're taking notes,
and it's just a little bot, right? Issues to grapple with that, but it's an interesting thing. Think about you've got a very distributed workforce, anyways. We happen to have it now because you can't go to work. So PC support, help desk. Right. Yeah. There's nobody to walk up to anyways, near where your place of work is today, if it's your home. But even if you did, it's not the most efficient thing to do for all of the needs for supporting the worker. Can I use chatbots to answer questions, right? Can I use some sort of a machine learning AI that, where we can learn from each other in our CRM system, right? Can we do spot findings of things that are working well across different customer types, and you put people together with ideas, suggest information that they need.
So the things you're talking about are really helping to draw more connections with people, it sounds like. Right?
They really would, or at least give them insights that they're connected into commonality, common experiences, common tools, common troubleshooting, you name it. But in the end, it's making people more productive. Right. And in reality, absolutely, by bringing some technical automation in.
All right. So let's talk about with these new business requirements, our strategies are changing, especially around workplace evolution. Some companies are saying, we're never putting people back into the office again. Others are saying, they're coming back as soon as the vaccine's out. I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think it's going to go up and down and all over the place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about strategy.
Yeah.
What strategy should I employ in order to navigate this massive changing that's happening and going to continue to happen for
Yeah,
some
well,
time?
some of the things that come back in those variety of responses are it's yes and no at different times for different reasons. So you need to be able to embrace that. Workers may be remote because of choice or maybe because of necessity. Can you reach them? What device might they be using? If they'd been a desktop user in a call center and now now you need to send them home, is it a desktop in the home? Is it a mobile device? They're in sales and they need to go out to customers. Would they be, doing everything on their PC, or would they also be leveraging a smartphone? So start having a strategy where you look to embrace kind of like an any device, any location, any application, anywhere, anytime strategy. How do I meet them kind of at where they need to be at that time? Is my infrastructure and my tools, are they really ready for that? Thinking about how you embrace that.
I totally agree with that. Any place, anytime, anywhere, any device. That's a new reality that we have. Now, with that kind of attitude, that strategy, we can't keep using the same processes that we used before.
Yeah.
So, and you and I kind of talked a lot about, hey, we got to do something about process improvement.
Yeah.
And the number one thing we talked about evaluating areas of process improvement, first thing you should look at is what processes can I throw out the door? Because I've always seen companies, even myself when I was a CIO, I kept adding process on top of things that I didn't need anymore.
Yeah,
right?
it is always healthy to think about, what you do well and what you don't, what you could be doing better if you did it a different way, and what's the value driving behind that. So anywhere where you can evaluate areas for process improvement, whether it's the internal infrastructure or it's the third-party capabilities you're going to leverage, service providers and the like, think about those areas where you can improve. One of the areas it gets into, hey, what are the tools? How do I rationalize them? Can I move to an as-a-service kind of model for more and more of my capabilities? As we've all started spinning up things like SharePoints and Teams, any collaboration tools, Snaps, Teams, any of the video conferencing tools, right? How many of these are really truly served as a SaaS capability versus needing to build a big, huge infrastructure on something, manage that infrastructure and be burdened by its tool sets versus really an incredible amount of ecosystem opportunities that are plugged into some of these as a service tools that really help in terms of what's going on in the workplace.
So that's one of that's the third kind of strategic, leg to our strategy is look for X as a service, whether it's software as a service, infrastructure as a service, or even services that you would normally, like help desk as a service, maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe you outsource that if it's not a key strategic asset that you have or strength that you have. So that can really help when you're evaluating your processes. I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say another area that's been interesting in the way we work, right? Across all those tools, think of all the things that we do now in a more disconnected offline mode. I mean, we're online, but we're not all necessarily going to get together by the water cooler or get together in the conference room for the same meeting. So we might be doing things like, hey, do you mind if I record? I mean, the amount of recording I think that I've seen go on, internal and external meetings I'm in, it's amazing, but it's because people want to have access and they want to quickly get to what they missed.
Yep.
But it also means things like, hey, there's data sprawl. There's data in the collaboration tool that you're using up there in a cloud. There's data sprawl on each of the local devices. And the point is, in this, we got to start thinking about, hey, how are we really doing a good job of effectively leveraging the data we're creating and managing it well, right? So we want to get into a data management strategy that really works for us to help us go faster.
In fact, I've been preaching this for a couple years now.
Yeah.
The I in CIO is not infrastructure. It's information.
Absolutely.
And too many of the CIOs are worried about infrastructure and out of kind of necessity. and we've lost our foundation, which is data, right? I mean, we should be managing data, not infrastructure first. So we need to shift back to that. And this is a forcing factor. It's happening to us.
Yeah, and it also leads us to some of the concerns and some of the things we need to be mindful of, specifically around, hey, if it's data gets us to insights and great initiatives, but it also comes with some requirements. We need to make sure that our users and their data are secure. We're practicing security in terms of how we embrace tools, evaluate the tools, deploy the tools, and enforce the use of good tools, good workflows around our data practices. Given that it's not just one tool, it's not just one location anymore, right? It's
spread all over the place. So that's the fifth strategic leg, right? Which is security. Yeah. Built in, designed up front, thought about in the beginning, not, oh, I forgot to put security around that. Right. You know, what do I do with all my Zoom recordings or my Microsoft Teams recording? Oh, they're sitting out in the public cloud.
Yeah, which copy? The one up in Zoom, the one that I downloaded when I recorded the meeting, and the one when I put it in some repository like a team site, right?
Yeah. And did we talk about confidential things on that meeting?
Absolutely. How do I tag things? How do I enforce? Yeah. So these are all really important things to be taking a look at what your strategy is for those things, because really you're trying to leverage those when you work on improving your capabilities that we talked about earlier today. The interesting thing is that all does ladder up across a multitude of environments. Your data, your infrastructure, your cloud, your location, cars, phones, airports, airlines, right? All these things, you're going to be interacting with a lot of this and enabling a lot of this, but keep an idea on what that strategy should be.
So let's talk about, we talked about a little bit about capabilities. Yeah. We're going to get into more on that on solutions. But so how does Intel play then with these capabilities that enable this new strategy on the evolving workplace? We talked about the 6 capabilities, right? App and data access, manageability, end-to-end security, connectivity for all that collaboration I need to do, and then also a multi-cloud kind of atmosphere. How does Intel play?
Yeah,
we just produce silicon.
It's important. We just produce silicon. We think about it though. What is the silicon capable of doing, and how does it really ladder up to those capabilities? So we really think about, is our silicon performant? Is our silicon secure? Is our silicon very scalable? Can we meet, from the little needs to the big needs? When you're looking to unleash a capability across multiple environments, do we exist in all of those? Can you manage the capabilities of what we offer? That's kind of how we think about it when you're thinking, hey, we make processors and accelerators and memory and storage and connectivity, Ethernet, silicon photonics. Importantly, when we're working on that, we've always thought, well, you're not going to get that from us directly. You're going to leverage a very big, robust, proven ecosystem of hardware players, OEMs, right? Software providers, systems integrators, cloud service providers, carriers, comms service providers. They all matter, right? That's what we really would consider our ecosystem. We work with them to make sure the solutions they're bringing to market to meet those capabilities needs, right, really hum with how they really take advantage of Intel's attributions, the values that we provide.
Well, and I think that's one of Intel's strengths that a lot of people don't really understand, is that vast ecosystem that we have. Yeah. We have 15,000 software developers that don't develop any code that we sell.
Yeah.
0, we don't sell any code. They're helping the ecosystem develop new solutions built on top of our silicon. Because when you really look at it, we're really a solution provider, right? Silicon just happens to be our mechanism to provide solutions to help people solve real problems.
Yeah, I often say the distance between Intel's loading dock as a manufacturer and the final customer's loading dock is too far for us to drive a truck ourselves. So we use our ecosystem to deliver across that gap.
I
Does that
love
make
that.
sense?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
make I like that a lot.
Okay. Yeah. And it's really important, right? But again, back to those capability areas, um, where should a customer spend their time and focus, and how can we help? It depends, right? If app and data access is a challenge for you, um, is VDI one of the areas, the solution areas underneath that you're struggling with, or where you could run better? Is it on premises? Is it in a cloud? Is it a VDI solution that you've historically run, with a wrapper of hardware and infrastructure attributed to it? Or should I be looking at something that's in a cloud, like a Windows Virtual Desktop or RDS service? Those are the types of areas where we would attempt to make sure we're giving you best recommendation on how to leverage Intel capabilities for app and data access. A couple of areas. Think connectivity. What's your VPN strategy? On Friday you thought you were going home, and the same VPN strategy would be the same thing you needed on Monday. What happened over the weekend? And is your VPN strategy for connectivity up to the challenge? We build things into our silicon or into chipsets that accelerate certain processes and technical capabilities. Can you leverage that? Can you leverage it if your VPN strategy is in your own infrastructure, or can you leverage it if you're running a virtual private network strategy through a cloud service provider? Just crazy things that can be done, because that entire ecosystem is our ecosystem. How do they leverage our technology? How do you leverage that capability of the ecosystem?
Well, and I think one of the most interesting ones, at least for me, because I expose multi-cloud, is this whole multi-cloud. Yeah. People don't realize when they talk to Intel, they think, oh, Intel's going to come and sell me a processor. Actually, I want to help you get your workload put on the best piece of silicon possible, which could be in one of the cloud service providers.
Or multiple. Right. Is the way you've run built your applications before the same way you want to build it going forward? Do you want to break up certain capabilities, stick part of that application's requirements into one cloud, the other in your own data center, or multiple clouds and in your data center? How do you stitch together that? And can you stay kind of in a one Intel ecosystem and do that? Give yourself performance, give yourself efficiency, give yourself portability and agility in the process. Those are the kinds of areas that we absolutely can work with you. You're still going to end up leveraging the partner, the cloud service provider, the OEM, the ISV, and SI, but we can absolutely help articulate the value of stitching it together.
Well, it's really interesting because I know you have kids, Robert. I have kids. Yeah. We all have a favorite kid, but we're never going to talk about it, right? No one ever says that.
We're working from home. They're up there too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But really, we love all of our kids, but at certain times, we like some more than others. That's the same thing when we talk to a customer and we're making recommendations. We can't tell you, hey, everything should move to this platform. It depends. It depends on each customer. And one thing that you can, rely on with Intel is when we're out there and we're trying to help you, we have your best interest at heart, because we want to make sure that you are successful in your business. Because if you are, you're going to come up with new ways to use data, new ways to use infrastructure to provide more value to your customers, and in the end, consume more. So our whole goal is to help you take advantage of all the great goodness that Intel has to offer.
Yeah, and I think maybe back to the kids analogy, it's, you can look at each one of those opportunities and say, here, this might be my best recommendation, but you can also do this. And in the end, you've got to decide to do this yourself. I can't do it for you. You're going to grow and develop based off of really what you're going to do. I can give you the foundations, but you've got to get this done on your own. You got to follow a strategy and make good choices. We're just going to do our best to advise you along the way.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, where could we go from here? Really, it's look for an opportunity to engage, your Intel representative. They've got a bevy of resources internally to help have these conversations. But obviously, as we said, really have an extensive, network and ecosystem of partners that we can try to address your issues and your motivations.
Hey, this has been great, Robert. Hopefully our listeners got something valuable out of this workplace evolution. It's here. Yeah. It's happening right now. If you don't do anything about it, you're going to get ran over.
Absolutely. Hey, Darren, thanks for having me, and look forward to more engagements.
Hey, thanks a lot, Robert. Thanks for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you liked our episode, go ahead and give us 5 stars on your favorite podcast or video streaming site. You can also find out more on embracingdigital.com. Until next time, keep moving forward and do something wonderful.